1. While I was waiting tables at an expensive steak place, I one night saw two middle-aged men walk into the dining room. They were dressed really down for our upscale atmosphere, so they stood out immediately. They walked to an empty booth in my section and sat down. I noted that our hostess had not seated them. Sure enough, the hostess came in quickly as they sat down and handed them menus. As she walked back to her post, she told me quietly that they had walked right past her without acknowledging her greeting. It luckily was a slow night, so this did not create a problem as there had been no waiting list. As I turned back to the men, I saw that they had left their table and were already at the salad bar, one for which the waiters delivered chilled pewter plates to the table when the salad was ordered. I walked up to them and greeted them while they were looking around the salad bar. One finally grunted at me and asked, "Where the fuck did you keep the goddamn plates?" I forced a smile and told him if they would be seated, I would get plates for them. He snorted that they knew what the hell they wanted and to move my ass and get the effing plates. Seeing that this was going to be a rough table, I decided not to press the issue and went to get the plates. As I walked to the kitchen, he yelled, and I mean loudly, that they wanted double jacks on the rocks too. I got them the plates, and I told them I would be back with their drinks. By the time I returned from the bar, the two had managed to make their salads, messed up the salad bar, and were seated again. When I asked if they wanted to hear our specials for that night, number one told me to just shut the F up about that BS, and bring them two of our large prime ribs, rare. I noticed number two had yet to say anything, but had a big dumb grin on his face the whole time. At least prime rib was a simple order that would be ready almost immediately after I turned the order in. When I asked what style of potatoes they wanted with their prime ribs, number one grunted that bait was the usual, wasn't it, so what else did I think he wanted? I tried to reply politely I would be back to check on them in a few moments. Then I went into the kitchen. The two were loud and obnoxious through the whole meal, but only number one ever addressed me whenever I checked on them. They ate their prime ribs and had 3 more doubles each while doing so. As I delivered the last round to them and asked if there was anything else I could get for them, number one told me what he really needed right then was a hot oil enema, adding that he was so full he could probably squirt it right across the dining room and hit the wall. With this, he demonstrated what he meant by raising up one leg and aiming his rear toward the other side of the restaurant. He then broke wind, loudly. Number two's grin got even bigger. I just said I would return shortly. When I saw they were finished and came to take their plates away, I stated, as I usually did to all my tables, that I hoped everything had been to their liking. Number one then let out, "Hell no, it wasn't." No, I had had enough and said as politely as I was able that I had done everything I could to make their dinner correct and pleasant, and that if something was wrong, they needed to state right then whatever it was. Number one just told me to bring the bill. When I delivered the bill, number one pulled out a huge wad of cash from his pocket and started to flip through several hundreds right in front of me. He then said he wanted to make a wager with me. If I could guess within 500 the total of cash he was holding, he would give it to me, but if I was wrong, I would owe him 20% of whatever I earned for the next 15 years. Needless to say, I was not about to take that bet. He then grunted that I was a wimp and that he had over 5,300 in his hand. I wondered why he would have so much cash on him, but let the question slide. He peeled off almost the exact amount of the bill from that wad and told me to keep the change as that was all the tip I deserved. By that time, that did not surprise me. Then he and number two got up and left. Thankfully, they never graced us again while I worked there. 2. We had a guy come in last night with his date. Throughout the evening, he was the picture of courtesy and good manners. He complimented me, thanked me every time I came to refresh waters or check on the table, made a point to be forgiving of a kitchen mistake, super extra nice. The dream customer, really. I appreciated it, but didn't delude myself that I was the source, and figured he was just in a good mood because the date was going well. They were chatting, laughing, having a great time, so I assumed I was the indirect beneficiary. He was certainly in some kind of celebratory mood because he was sparing no expense. He asked for our highest quality wine. She got our most expensive entree. He ordered one of every appetizer for her to sample when she made a remark that she was having trouble deciding. It was a real feast. So the evening starts wrapping up and I get their check. I ask if they'll be together or separate. She starts to say separate, but he makes a big deal of saying, "Oh, you're getting together, definitely together. You never have to pay when you're with me, babe." And so on and so forth, then slides me a credit card. I get everything sorted and bring out the receipt. He fills it out, and it came to $289 total. He doesn't even blink and makes a big show of leaving a $100 tip. He thanks me for my service and emphasizes what a lovely night they've had. Of course, a tip that size is exceptional, so I thanked him profusely. He said there was no need to thank him, and goes on a big tear about how underappreciated waitstaff are, and to just think of it as a stand-in for all the ingrates who don't treat me right. Going, "Don't plan a tip, don't plan to eat out, you know?" Looking at the mesmerized girl the whole time and not giving me a glance. I could care less where he was looking. I was looking at the upcoming $100. I thanked him again, and said I hoped to see him back soon, and that was that. So he helps her into her coat, and off they go. Great night. I was riding high. About 90 seconds later, he's back in the door without her, going, "I think I left my—" Then, when the door shut, and looking to make sure she was out of earshot, he goes, without the slightest shade of shame or embarrassment, "Mark the tip down to $20, hon. I was just playing it up for my date. You understand?" And turns to go. I understood, but not how he hoped I would. But I couldn't make a scene in the middle of work. That's not my place. So I just said one more time in order to give his conscience a chance to sink in. "Okay, sir. You'd like to amend your tip from $100 to $20, is that correct?" And even though I didn't show a hint of displeasure in my voice, he shot back, extremely hostile. "Yes, and if I see a cent over the 20 on there, I'm going to dispute the whole meal with my credit card vendor, so don't try to pull anything." The most frustrating part of this for me was not even going from an over 30% tip to under 10%, but rather that this poor girl was being strung along, with no idea of who the guy was behind her back. It was extremely manipulative of him, which is a major red flag. I've had my fair share of toxic relationships in the past and really wish someone had pulled the blinders off my eyes, so desperately wanted to do something to alert this girl to the trick the guy had pulled, hoping it would be a catalyst for her to question his other actions. But again, I was at work, and that just wasn't my place, so I altered the bill, and that was that. Then, just in time, something occurred to me, and I darted outside, hoping to catch them in the parking lot. I got lucky. They'd parked on the street, and I was still dealing with the parking meter. So I flagged him down and rushed across the street, nearly stumbling into traffic in my haste for a delicious moment. His date was already in the car, but rolled down her window, since no one expects the waitress to follow you out to your car waving her arms like a crazy person. I made it across and said, more than loudly enough for her to hear, "Sir, we amended your tip from $100 down to $20 as you requested, but you actually need to fill out a different receipt reflecting your new total for our records. Your old receipt still has your original tip of $100 written on it, but since you just came in and asked us to charge you $20 instead, we can't have a discrepancy in our records. I hope you understand. This is just a bookkeeping regulation that goes way above me. It has nothing to do with you retroactively downgrading your tip to $20 from $100. We're just glad you enjoyed your evening." His jaw was on the floor. He tried to pretend as though he didn't know what I was talking about, trying to give me some line about, "I think you're after someone else. I only came back because I forgot my keys." But I would not let it rest. The more he played dumb, the more I repeated versions of, "You wanted to change your tip from $100 down to $20. You came back in," and on and on. So we went back and forth for a few more seconds when he finally went, "Okay, whatever, sorry for the miscommunication. If you need me to fill out a new receipt, I can." And I, totally even-keeled, was like, "You only need to fill out a new receipt if you want to change your tip from $100 down to $20. And I'm guessing he didn't have the money in his account because he did it. He filled out the new receipt, his girlfriend was visibly shocked, and the man was staring daggers through me. You could feel the rage emanating from him. It was vicariously quite satisfying in place of the other toxic men I never did get that confrontation with. And all the bad tippers. Ironically, the exact kind he made a righteous speech decrying just a few minutes beforehand. And then they drove. I'm sure never to patronize our restaurant again. But hopefully never to go out together again either, which would make it totally worth it. 3. I am a polyglot. I speak Polish, English, German, and Spanish. I was born in Poland and currently live in Spain. on to the story. Back in the days when I used to work as a head waiter in a restaurant and bar in Spain, and in the absence of my boss or manager, I was in charge. This happened in the middle of the week during a pretty slow day. A middle-aged couple sat down at one of the tables outside, and already seeing them through the window, I could say they weren't locals. Once I came closer, I heard them speaking Polish, but started to speak English to me and asked for a card in English, to which I obliged. I don't always talk to foreign customers in their language if I know it. I can tell from the start how they will behave, and their attitude, and I could tell that they were heading to the more entitled Karen and Kyle type of customers. Boy, was I spot on. They have been talking pretty loudly at their table, making fun of other clients and in general being rude, all in Polish, of course. After a few minutes, they waved me down. I asked if they were ready to order, to which they replied that they don't understand the card and they need me to explain it to them. As the restaurant was basically empty, I tried to explain everything they wanted to know, still in English though. After like 5 minutes explaining half the card, they told me they can't understand me and want someone who speaks clear English or even better, Polish. Beside my colleague at the bar, I was the only waiter, so I tried to explain it to them, but they cut me off and fucking demanded someone who speaks their language or clear English. I smiled, told them I will see if I can bring someone over who can help them out better, and went in. Before going in, I heard them talk shit about me, saying how stupid someone could be to not be able to explain a fucking menu. I took my sweet time inside with the AC on. I talked for a minute or two with my colleague at the bar, went to the kitchen and had a snack and a laugh with the cooks. Eventually I came out again and they weren't happy. As soon as they saw me, the Karen sighed and said with a dumb smile to her husband or boyfriend in Polish that I was coming back, and she compared me to a fire extinguisher for some reason. That was very odd. With the best fuck you smile I could manage to bring to my face, I looked straight at them and said in pure, beautiful and clear Polish, "Good afternoon, how can I help you?" As to be expected, they went pale white in a second. Still smiling at them, I asked if they want me to explain the menu to them. After the initial shock, the man looked at me and asked angrily, "Why didn't you tell us you speak Polish?" To which I calmly, with a smile, replied, "You never asked." This answer apparently was a wrong one, as he got real pissed at me, red in the face. He was a few centimeters from mine when he stood up. Fun fact, I'm tall. 189 centimeters or 6 feet 2 inches. This guy was at least 30 centimeters or 12 inches lower than me, which meant he had to look up at me. "I want to speak to your manager and he better speak coherent English." I smiled even more. "Of course, sir, I'll call him immediately," and went in. You know where this is going. After a minute or two, I came out with the brightest grin in my life. They looked at me dumbfounded while I, in the best and cleanest version of my American English I was forcibly taught back in school, said, "Hello, I am the manager, how can I help you?" Let me tell you, they flipped the fuck out while I calmly stood there waiting for them to calm down. They never did. They packed their shit and left. After they left, I paid their bill, which was €1 whole for a water bottle. I could handle such loss in my finances. They left me a nasty review on Facebook, which was quickly explained and answered by me saying, "Next time make sure your waiter speaks your language." The review was taken down a couple of hours later. 4. Okay, so I work at a health takeout food chain. We mostly sell salads and wraps, but we recently brought in tacos for a limited time offer. There's a few different varieties with different ingredient combos and spice levels. It's a whole new menu category for us, so we as staff are still kind of getting comfortable with explaining them to customers who aren't sure which type they want to order, but we haven't had any problems so far. That is until today. I was at the counter waiting for this nice couple who had told me they'd like a moment to look over the menu. This really nasty-looking old lady literally comes bursting through the door, and you can immediately tell she's in a terrible mood, stomping, huffing, muttering under her breath. She looks at the couple and immediately has this look of disgust like, "How dare other people be in this restaurant at the same time as me?" And then she immediately goes straight up to me at the counter to order, with zero regard for them being there first. I look over at the couple, and the kind gentleman just nods and puts up his hands like, "No worries, we can wait." So I ask the old woman what she'd like. And she says she wants the tacos, but doesn't understand why we have so many different kinds. So I start explaining the main differing ingredients in each one, and she's like, "How do you expect me to remember any of this?" so I kindly directed her attention to the menu board above me. And as she looks like she's barely attempting to read it for herself, she gets outraged, saying it's changing too fast for her to read. First time I've ever heard anyone complain about that. So she asks me to explain the different kinds again. But as I start doing that, she says I'm too slow, and that she doesn't have time for my nonsense, and just to make her whatever as long as it's not spicy. I tell her I'll do the mild sweet corn chicken once for her, but that it does come with a salsa verde on the side, which contains jalapenos. And I offer to swap it out for the more mild salsa fresca. She loses her shit. Saying I better not dare omit anything from her order that she's paying for, accuses me of trying to rip her off, and basically threatens to bring hell down upon me if I change a single thing on her order. On the outside I'm like, right, yes, you got it, ma'am, but in my head I'm like, sit yourself, bitch. I hope it sets your mouth on fire and no amount of cold milk can ever tame it. I let my coworker make her order while I finally attend to the couple that's been waiting. But I can't help but notice the whole time my coworker is making her order, the lady is leaning way over the counter and loudly demanding to know what's each ingredient that my coworker is putting in her tacos. When my coworker started adding the shredded cabbage, this woman just about lost her damn mind and screamed, "None of that!" My coworker started apologizing profusely and picking the cabbage off, and she ripped her mask off and yelled at the top of her lungs, "No, don't remove it, just don't put any more!" She continues to loudly critique every little thing my coworker is doing, and my coworker is doing her best to be polite and composed, and asking if she's okay with each ingredient before adding it. To which the lady goes, "God, just hurry up, you don't need to be so dramatic!" I'm listening to this whole thing and just raging inside because my coworker is so nice and meek, and you really have to be the biggest piece of shit to yell at someone like that. But I knew my coworker was handling it the way we're technically supposed to, according to protocol, and it probably wasn't the best to get involved and escalate the situation. I just tried to make the other customer's order as fast as possible, since they had waited so politely and patiently. My coworker and I both finished the orders around the same time, and while the old bitch violently tore open the takeout bag in order to scrutinize her food, and demand a plastic spoon and knife for her tacos, I don't even know, I passed the order to the gentleman who had been waiting with his wife, and he gave me extra thanks and told me he was sorry for what we had to deal with. I said, "Hey, you have nothing to be sorry for. People like you make my job so much better." And then they left, and the crazy woman a few minutes after them. As soon as she was gone, my coworker ran to the kitchen to cry, and I went after her. But then I heard this loud shrieking noise coming from outside. I run back to the front door, and this old lady is already strapping herself into her car, while the couple from inside, who were black, were looking her way, absolutely stunned. Then it dawned on me. She was making monkey noises at them. It took me a few moments to pick my jaw up off the floor, and then I looked over at the couple, who were already in their car, and I just shook my head in dismay and put a hand to my heart, like to say I was so sorry. As if being an absolute cock of a human being to underpaid food workers who are literally bending over backwards to try and please her wasn't enough. She had to be a nasty, blatant racist on top of that. Jesus fucking Christ. I hope she choked on those tacos. 5. A little backstory. I recently quit working as a server, yay, and started working 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. as a store clerk. Better paid and works better for me. I live in a small tourist town where most people know each other, and there are a lot of tourists during the summer. My brother has a restaurant which is open from mid-spring until early autumn. I help out when he needs it after I finish my other job at 7 p.m. Monday was a national holiday in my country, and the weekend was expected to be very busy. As it was, I could barely keep up with the tables I got, and stuff was getting hectic in the kitchen, and it was hella so there. Enter the rude customer. I bring the menu to the two guys, rude guy with a chill friend, who just sat, and as I'm leaving their table to get some other customers who want to order something, this guy stops me and with no intention of reading the menu asks me, "What beers do you have?" They're all listed in the menu, you can see them there. I'll be right back with you, sir, just one mo- I ain't reading that, just tell me what the beers you have. I'm used to these kind of customers. We've got draft, and this, and this, and this. Was it so hard to tell me? Bring me this one and some fish and some fries. Sir, it's very busy right now, and it'll take at least 40 minutes for the fries and the fish to be ready. Can I offer you some salads or something from the barbecue while the rest gets ready? Do I look like someone who's gonna wait? My child will be here in 10 minutes, and if the fish isn't here, I will not be paying. Sir, there are tons of other orders before you, and we cannot bring yours before that. I don't care. Who are you to tell me that I have to wait? Bring it or else. Dude, first of all, you have no right to speak to me like that. Second, your order will not be ready in less than 40 minutes, because there are other customers before you, and because I'm not gonna serve you. Get out of here. I went to my other tables, had 3 who were waiting to order, got the orders, and continued to do my job. 5 minutes passed by, and this guy comes out to the bar and asks to see my boss. My brother works as a chef every day, and this guy clearly knows him, but not me. John, your server says he doesn't want to serve me. What is this? Yeah, that server is my brother, and you were in the wrong acting like a jackass. Is it your brother, John? I'm so sorry, I didn't know. Accept my apologies, I didn't know you were his brother. Whatever, just know you were in the wrong no matter if I'm the owner's brother or not. He stayed, and I had to serve him anyway. He was all apologetic for the rest of the night, and left a decent tip. I was fuming for the rest of the night because of that. Why does he think that it is okay to be rude to servers as long as they are not related to the owner? What the heck? Also, he is a townie, and my brother later told me that this is the way he acts usually. He is the type of guy to get his ass kicked every time when there is a fight in the local pub. I'm so happy I kinda got away from the waiter's job. I still will be helping my bro whenever he needs help, but at least it's not every day. Thanks for coming to my rant. Wish you all to have less jerks as customers as possible. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Spinning Plates, episode 138. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Let's see. Oh yes, if you liked the video, then please do give it a like and subscribe, and possibly poke a badger with a spoon. No wait, don't do that, that's very bad. Just the like and subscribe and maybe a comment then. Okay. Let's see, I have a little shout out to give. Where was that hiding? The author of story number 1, 2, 3. Story 3. And that is... Shout out goes to Reddit user thisfreak100. That's their name. I'm not calling them a freak. So thank you very much, thisfreak100, for letting us use your story. And, make sure I remember, yes, this says we have a little birthday shout out today. And the birthday shout out goes to, Enza. Well, you know who you are. I've seen you. Yes, I have actually seen you. I'm sure I've seen you posting. Your girlfriend sent us a message asking for a little birthday shout out, which I'm more than happy to do. So here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Enza. Happy birthday to you. And I hope you have a delightful day filled with love and hugs and gifts and ridiculously unhealthy foods because it's your birthday and you're allowed to spoil yourself as much as you want to. Okay, and with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.